This is Professor Michael Chapman. I'm one of the most experienced IVF doctors in Australia. I believe that an important part that I can contribute is to educate patients in relation to fertility, infertility, and all that involves. These series of podcasts help to educate you. I hope they are helpful to you. If you wish to know more, however, I'm more than happy to have you contact me via email, which is profmchapman@gmail.com, or make an appointment to see me on 9138 4222.
Prof, could you talk about ovarian stimulation protocol?
Right. Okay. In every IVF cycle, there is the need to maximize success of producing multiple eggs. So what we do in an IVF cycle is give you hormones that mimic the normal hormones that come from your pituitary gland to stimulate the ovary. But we're giving them in much higher doses than the brain produces, and for longer periods of time. The main hormone in that is FSH. So virtually all ovarian stimulation regimes involve giving FSH on a daily basis by injection. There is one particular product suitable for some where the stimulation regime, the injection that's given lasts for 7 days, and obviously that's a bonus for the patients who it's suitable for. That's the product's called Alonda, and the younger women, that's quite a bonus. The ovarian stimulation protocol then is usually to start on the second or third day of a cycle. So you have your period, and then you start the injections. That process, following that of a daily injection, by day 5, estrogen levels should be rising, and we do a blood test to check that's happening if we're monitoring things closely. And then at that point, with estrogen levels rising, one of the problems that we have in IVF stimulation is that your brain can sometimes preempt the cycle process for us. So we have to switch off the pituitary gland in its normal process of stimulating ovulation when it thinks it's appropriate, which is determined by estrogen levels. So switching off the pituitary gland usually begins around about day 5 of the cycle. It's called an antagonist cycle, which is the vast majority of cycles in Australia are antagonist cycles. And those cycles, the antagonist is again a second injection, and its job is to switch off the pituitary gland to stop it releasing hormones that might produce ovulation before we want it to. So here you're going along on day 5, you're starting the second set of injections. So those aren't stimulated, they're actually blocking the pituitary. And those injections, the two together, go on through for the next 5 or 6 days. During that time, you will be having blood tests to check that your hormones are heading in the right direction, estrogen going up, and looking to make sure there are no signs of ovulation. Ultrasound is transvaginal, so the nurse or the doctor will be using a transvaginal probe to look at your ovaries and to measure the size of each of the follicles that are there. And when they reach a critical point, stimulated by the FSH injections, and the hormones are at the appropriate level, which is around about 1,000 picomoles per follicle, picomoles per litre per follicle. So if you've got 14 follicles, it might be as high as 14,000. If you've got 8 follicles, it's more like 8,000. That's what we're looking for. Plus the fact that the follicles are over the measurement of 18 millimeters. Now, clinics vary, that some say we need 3 more than 17 to stimulate to go to the egg collection. Our approach is 2, 18 or more. So it varies, but it probably doesn't make much difference. What then happens, at that point, the eggs in those follicles are immature. By immature, what we're saying is that they have 46 chromosomes, 23 pairs of chromosomes. And what has to happen to have a mature egg is that 23 of those chromosomes, one of each pair, has to be pushed out of the egg to leave 23 chromosomes behind. Why does that? Why do we only need 23 chromosomes? Because there's 23 chromosomes coming with the sperm head. So when the sperm enters the egg, it brings 23 other ones, and they attach themselves to the 23 that are already there, which is why we get a blending when a male and a female have a baby. It's going to be a blend of both of them, because that chromosome connection is what happens. If those 23 chromosomes don't get thrown out, then fertilization generally won't occur. So to trigger that process, which in nature is a surge of hormones from the pituitary, we mimic that surge of hormones artificially. You have what's called the trigger injection. And what that trigger injection does is set off that process of kicking out the 23 chromosomes and moving the egg from immature to mature. It also has another effect, which is to start the process of the release of the eggs. And by 40 to 44 hours after that injection, if we haven't collected the eggs by then, the natural process will occur, and those eggs will be released from the ovary, and we will lose them. So when you're going through a cycle, what will happen is that the nurses will be calling you to say, yes, you're ready for egg collection, and we'll be doing that procedure at, let's say, 8 a.m. In 2 days' time. So tonight, at 8 o'clock tonight, you will have your injection, and the eggs will be collected 36 hours at 8 a.m., 36 hours later. It's quite a precise process, and so I'm sure that you'll be told by the nurses not to forget to have that injection, because we won't find any eggs if we don't get it at the right time. And even if you take it and you're an hour or two late, that will also mean that when we go to collect the eggs, we won't find any. So it's very important to get that timing right. So the ovarian stimulation finishes at that point, and hopefully we get eggs from that cycle.
And don't forget that you can access all the previous episodes by going to our website www.theivfjourney.com and select IVF Journey podcast from the navigation menu.